if you pursue your Svadharma and you are talented in that field and you put in that hard work, you will reach a certain level of excellence, which is enough to take care of your needs. But it will fulfill you at a deeper level.
That no amount of money will be able.
Exactly.
Namaste and welcome to episode 18 of our show on the Bhagavad Gita with Srimati Jaya Rao, renowned teacher of Vedanta and also my mother. So Jayaji, I was just thinking, if you ask me, the work that I do, I love what I do, right? There's a lot of positive energy at the workplace. The kind of work that I do is awesome. I'm very, very grateful, blessed for what I do. But yet, I found myself, waking up tired. Everything, like I said, felt like a chore. Why is it that we are so jaded on an ongoing basis in life, right? Like, isn't life supposed to be? I'm not saying that life should be exciting and there should be, oh yeah, you should be bouncing off the walls kind of excitement. That's not it, right? That's not sustainable. Yeah, there are moments, there are highs, and you react to them or you respond to them. But why are we so jaded, and what can we do to um, rekindle the enthusiasm for life that we had in childhood, right? You look at us as kids and people would say, oh, you were so full of life, and now you're like, shoulders drooping all the time. And, so how do we rediscover that enthusiasm for life?
Yeah, see, many of us view our work as compulsion. I have to do it. Now, when you look at it from that perspective, it becomes drudgery, it becomes boring. You drag your feet to work, and others can pick it up.
Yep.
So they also get jaded. So that is the lowest quality of work that one can perform. The next is you do it for money. So there is at least that desire for money that drives you, but it's still limited. But when you do it because you have a passion for it, like you said, you have a passion for what you do, then it's a totally different story. But even then, if you tire yourself out, and that requires a certain amount of intellectual um, assessment and proportioning your work so that you don't overwork one day and you're like out of steam the next day. But to the extent you have a passion for it, you're able to go through with it. But even then, if it is for self interest, then it drains you of energy, you have stress, you have anxiety, you have all kinds of things that come in the way, because of which you don't have that childlike enthusiasm that you said, childlike excitement for work. But then there are people who do things just because it fulfills them, it makes them happy. Like, there are people who just cook a meal over a weekend, and that's a stress buster because you're doing it for your happiness. Or you paint, or you do something unusual where there is no monetary gain, there is no return for you in any way except that it gives you happiness. Then one step further is you do things because you want to become a better person. So you have committed yourself to a certain regimen, which may be demanding, but you do it because you know you're going to be a better person. And the highest level of motivation is where you're doing it for a spiritual end, a goal. You're doing it for God or whatever spiritual desire. So you have to see where you belong and then push yourself one step higher.
Yeah, and I think one of the important things, the most important thing, and I think we spend maybe like 80% of our lives at the workplace and engaged in work. So it's important, like, for us to really find work that aligns with our traits, our attributes, and our strengths and our talent, right? Everyone has some talent or another. Um, I think that is a big challenge for a lot of people because not everyone is a Roger Federer or a Steve Jobs or a Narayan Murthy or whatever it is that whatever standard of excellence we see um, in our lives. For some, it's very obvious at a young age, but for most of us, I would say 95% of us who are not at the top 1%. For us, it's quite a journey and a challenge, right? So how do you go about and in fact even in Sanskrit in the Gita itself they say there's the concept of Svadharma. So how do you go about identifying this Svadharma of ours?
Swadharma literally means your most powerful desire,
Okay.
right? So, or inclination or leading. Now, that keeps coming up from childhood onwards. If you observe, there are these moments when it keeps coming up. And when you're at it, you're so engrossed that other things don't distract you. You're just totally focused. But then it passes. And then you get distracted with other things or what others are doing or what family expects you to do. And you tend to get a bit confused. But if you think back and reflect over your childhood and growing years and try and look at what has sustained, what interest has sustained. And then you narrow it down to two or three, that's your shortlist. And between the three, you identify one.
Okay.
And that is your swadharma. And in the after that, as you are pursuing it, if you find that you've made a mistake, you can always change. That option is always there. But we have to be careful that even in the swadharma, if you are doing it for profit or you're doing it for a higher cause, if you're doing it just because you're driven by desire, or you do it because you feel it is an obligation on your part to yourself, then depending on that, it becomes drudgery or revelry. It gives you stress or peace. So that also is another thing. So you could be in your swadharma, but your attitude towards it may be wrong.
Yeah. No, but when it comes to Swadharma, there are sometimes it's okay. Let's you figure it out, right? But um, it's not easy to make a living off that.
Mm.
And there are many times, or at least in the short term or the medium term, you don't see yourself making enough money to support your family and fulfill your responsibilities to your family, to society, whatever it is. And not everyone is in a position of privilege to say, you know what, okay, it's okay if I don't make money for like 3 years and I'll be fine.
That's true. But it depends on the intensity of the desire you have, and how talented you are.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, take anyone. Um, they have come from humble origins, many of them, in the area of sport or music or things like
Yeah.
that, and have excelled. And that has taken them to the top. But top doesn't mean that they'd be billionaires. Top means they would get enough uh, to live.
Yeah, but I don't
But
think we're
that is
talking
a
about.
sacrifice that they have to make.
Yeah, but I don't think we're talking about being a billionaire, right? We're just talking about being able to pay the bills.
Yes, that you'll be able to. If you pursue your swadharma and you are talented in that field, then and you put in that hard work, you will reach a certain level of
Excellence.
excellence,
Yeah.
which is enough to take care of your needs. But it will fulfill you at a deeper level. So
That no
that
amount.
takes
Yeah, that no amount of money will be able.
exactly. So you have made your decision, you've made your choice, and you're prepared for it.
But the family sometimes has to bear the brunt of it, right? They may not be up for that. I'm just saying, like we see it, like
That's true. like this Praveen Tambe, and he went through immense turmoil and pain.
You want to tell us a little bit about the backstory, because maybe everyone
Yes.
doesn't know about Praveen Tambe.
This Praveen Tambe was a young boy who was passionate about cricket, and his goal was only to play in the Ranji Trophy. When his mother, and he comes from a lower middle class family, so his mother wants him to take a job and earn money like his brother or other people. And he says, no, this is my passion, I want to do it. And he's not selected. Again and again he tries, he's not selected. But he puts in his effort at becoming a better batsman. Actually,
No, bowler. I
bowler.
think, yeah.
He wanted to be a batsman, and then
okay.
the coach makes him turn to
Okay.
a bowler. So Praveen Tambe was 41 years old when Rahul Dravid picked him up for the IPL first. And then he played at the Ranji Trophy. So he eventually met with his goal. So what matters is the extent of your desire, the, the pressure within
Yeah.
to do it. I wouldn't call it pressure, the intensity of the desire to achieve it. And that gives you the strength to go through
The hardship.
the hardships.
Yeah, because you need a little bit of courage, persistence to see through the initial difficult phase, right? Otherwise, if it were easy, everyone would do it.
Yes. And then you take a person like Ustad Bismillah Khan, for instance. He chose to just play the Shehnai. He was offered by the government of India trips abroad where he would have made money, he would have earned more fame. And he said, no, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. So there are like this research scientists who withstand the temptation of going corporate and are happy with the income. So essentially, it's up to you. Now, as far as the family is concerned, tough luck. They have to either accept what you do or go their way.
Yeah.
But
Not easy.
it's not easy for them.
Okay, so I think the way I see it is that one thing is doing, engaging in a field of work that is aligned with your strengths, your personality, your traits. And the second thing, like you touched upon earlier, is if you don't remind yourself of why you're doing that, you will still get into a rut.
Yes.
Right. So whether you are operating in a field of your swadharma or not, if you don't have the why or the purpose, and if it's not foremost in your mind a lot of the time, you're gonna feel jaded. That's how I felt like last week. Right. It was.
Yes.
Suppose whatever your life has taken you in a certain direction, it may be too late, or the opportunity costs are too high of pursuing a swadharma. But even then, if you're able to dedicate your work to something, a higher purpose, that drive will kick in, right?
Absolutely. See, it's like this. If even in your Swadharma, I'm saying even in because that is the most inspiring field to work in. If you're doing it because it's a routine, like you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you go through the motions, then it'll be a drudgery, like you said, jaded.
Yeah.
But if you have a powerful emotional motivation driving you, then those moments of being jaded reduce a lot. It's not that they don't happen, but they happen few and far between. Most of the time, you're driven. And the amazing thing is, you become more creative, you become more energetic, more dynamic. So you're all there. Now, one step further, like for instance, you're doing it for your child or for a friend or whoever. Then you go a step further and find an intellectual ideal. Then your level of energy and dynamism is much more. But you have to maintain that thought all the time for it to really kick in.
Yep.
And the highest is spiritual. Like, why am I doing this? Because I want to become a better person.
Yep.
Then you're motivated a lot more.
Exactly. And even you look at historical figures or contemporary figures also. What made an ordinary lawyer in South Africa who was thrown out of the train into the father of the nation, right? From Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, he became Mahatma. And the thing is, he dedicated his life for the nation.
Yes.
And you look at where it took him, right? He would have never, he may have become the most successful lawyer ever, but it still wouldn't have given him the state. Today, I mean, there's monuments named after him, like so much, right? Um, he inspired millions. So, like, we see examples of this when you have a higher purpose, you just find a way to excel, and then the rewards come anyway, right? It's like the rewards come as a byproduct almost of that excellence.
Yes. And that is something we don't understand.
Yeah.
So most of us are driven by self-interest, which then becomes drudgery and boredom, and then
Yeah.
it's a downhill.
No, and then you are trying to satisfy yourselves with toys, right?
Yeah.
With a luxury car, a luxury yacht, a luxury home. How much luxury is it going to take to satisfy us? Right?
And
It
anyway,
never
that
will.
doesn't.
It can never do it. And that's why we come to this, like the concept of yagna, which is there, is where we dedicate our work to a higher purpose, right? Isn't that what essentially the concept is?
Yes.
So I think that's a large part of what happens in chapter 3. So let's begin with the invocation.
ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Where in verse 8 of chapter 3, and Lord Krishna is speaking, and he says, perform your obligatory action. Indeed, action is superior to inaction. It is not possible to even sustain the body without action. Do you want to take verse 8 and 9 together, or take
We'll
8
do them one by one.
one by one? Okay.
So here he emphasizes the importance of action, that it is not possible to live, to exist without action.
Yep.
And then what kind of action? Niyatam karma, obligatory duty. So there are 3 kinds of action. One is niyatam karma, your obligation, your duty. Then there is kamya karma, which is desire-driven action, which we are all very familiar with. And then comes nishiddha karma, where if your desires keep increasing to such an extent that they cannot be fulfilled by ordinary legal, moral, ethical methods, then you cross the line
Okay.
and move to the realm of unethical, immoral, criminal, maybe activities. And then there's no coming back. So, what must we do? Just focus on niyatam karma. This is the uniqueness of the Indian tradition, where right from the beginning they focused on just perform your duty. And even now, children are brought up to say, this is your duty, you do it. So, whether, first of all, it is the intellect that determines what you ought to do, not the mind. Whether you like it or not, you do what you ought to do. That is the highest quality of action. And then that gives you success, that gives you happiness, that helps you to grow, all of that. The moment you go into the airy-fairy realm of desire, you get caught.
Yep.
And that's where all of us are.
Absolutely.
So you are spending more than you earn. All of us are in debt. We're busy just repaying EMIs. And still there is no satisfaction.
Yeah.
So the young particularly don't even think of the future. So Then at some point they move to Nishiddha Karma.
Mm.
So therefore, another thing that happens is, as long as each one is performing his or her duty, there is harmony in society, in the
Yep.
family first and in the... But if the moment you go to desire, then my desire and your desire clash.
There's
So there is
friction.
conflict,
Yeah.
friction. War is taking place because
Mm.
of that. So there is that emphasis on duty.
Yeah.
And each one of us, we may think we're doing our duty.
Mm.
But if you do some thinking, you'll realize that your concept is so limited.
Yeah.
There's only two: husband, wife, children. That's it.
Mm.
What about beyond?
Yeah. And in fact, one of the things that we see that has happened in the world, and especially in India, I feel, where traditionally, there was an emphasis on duty, your duty to your family, to your parents, um,
To society.
to society. A lot of that is breaking down, and it's moving to a more rights based, that this is my right? Who are you to challenge me? But what about, or even when I'm as a citizen of a country, we're in India, so we're talking about India. Like, it is my right to have access to the coastal road. Arey, but what have you done to deserve that privilege, right? So I'm saying, like, people, I'm just giving you a random example. I'm not taking that. It's not about the specifics. I'm saying, what are we doing to contribute to our society, to our family, first to our family, to our society, to our city, to our state, to our country, to the world? No one even thinks about that, right? But that's where it all begins. If you operate from a sense of duty, which is what you said, Niyatam karma, then there's no way that you will get stressed, or you will face that much unhappiness. You will live a life of relative calm and peace, right? Whereas if it's right, then it's about demanding, right? And the more you demand, the more you're likely to get disappointed. So, I mean, I just felt like this is one observation that I've seen, that this shift in the world, not just India, from an obligation based life to a rights based life. And that's where all the degradation has gradually happened.
Yes, it's the attitude of entitlement.
Yep, exactly.
And you see this in the younger generation more
Oh,
now.
yeah,
But that is because the older generation has also lived like
of
that.
course.
So this duty bound thing sounds very
Boring. It
yeah,
sounds dull, right?
unappealing.
Yeah.
But that is the secret to fulfillment, to happiness, to success even.
Yep.
If an employee looks at, okay, this is my duty to do this for the organization, then the best in him comes out.
Exactly.
Then he gets a promotion, he does well,
Yeah.
you know,
And if you don't get it at the current, someone will recognize your
Exactly.
excellence somewhere, right?
and pick you up.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, many people say, oh, what will happen to me? Mera kya hoga? And all of that. Like, you give your best first, no? Show your performance, show what you're capable of. And then, like, people will come. You will be recognized. So, move on to verse 9.
Yes.
So, in verse 9, Lord Krishna says, O Kaunteya, son of Kunti, perform action for yagna, sacrifice, free from attachment. The world is bound by non-yagna actions.
So this concept of yajna is an ancient Vedic ritual. Ritual backed by the significance of it. Like, for instance, in Mundaka Upanishad, he says, when in the fire set ablaze, the flame shoots up, one should offer oblations to that fire. So, yajna is a ritual where a fire is started in a brick wall trough, and there are specifications to that and all that. So basically, you start a fire, and then all the participants come and offer their offering, oblation, ahuti, it's called,
Yeah.
into the fire. And that oblation, ahuti, is usually wood, pieces of wood, grain, ghee, etc. So when you offer this into the fire shoots up. So these are the two basic elements of that yajna. One is your offering, second is what is kindled. So they say that when the, first of all, the brick ball trough represents the goal that you're working for, the organization, the country, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And each member of society or the family comes and offers his or her talent into that. That's called the ahuti. So an accountant comes, a salesman comes, a content provider comes, an artist comes, whatever it is. All of these offer their ahuti, their offering, into the fire. Then what happens? Fire shoots up, means the profit potential of the organization is kindled. The organization does well and blesses all the participants. So at the end of the ritual, ash is left, and that ash is distributed equally to all participants. That ash represents the profit that comes. So you see this in an organization where all the employees work well, offer their talent for the benefit of the organization makes tremendous profit, and the first people to benefit from that are the employees. But if that's what he says, this world is not meant for the non-performer of yajna. You work with a selfish attitude, you are doomed. Not only you, the whole entire thing goes into destruction.
Yep.
So the organization becomes bankrupt. And without attachment is the key here. Because the moment you get attached, then there is a selfish angle to it. So you're doing it because of yourself, because I like to do it. So that must be taken away.
Yeah.
And then there is prosperity all around. And most importantly, you grow spiritually.
Yep. Shall we move on to verse 10? In verse 10, Lord Krishna says, having created humankind in the beginning along with the yajna, sacrifice, Prajapati, the creator, said, by this may you prosper. Let this be the Kamadhenu, the fulfilling cow of your desires.
This
So
is an
that's-
absolutely inspiring verse.
Yeah.
This is something that every Indian should be taught, you know. So what he puts it dramatically. He says when
everyone, right? I mean,
all human beings.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he puts it dramatically. He says when the creator first created the human being, he gave the human being a special gift. And that special gift is yajna, sacrifice. The capacity to sacrifice consciously is something that only the human being has. No other species has it. And he says, with this may you prosper. Which means without it, it is impossible to prosper. But we don't get that. And what is the sacrifice? Sacrifice is actually giving up your lower desire for your own higher aspiration. People don't understand it like this. They say, why should I work for others? It's not. The world doesn't need our service, but we need it. And if we understand it like that, we put everything we've got into it. And then he says something amazing. Let this be the Kamadhenu of all your endeavors. Kamadhenu is a mythological cow of the sage Vasishtha, who apparently resides in heaven, who has this ability to fulfill all your desires. So now what he's saying is, sacrifice is the Kamadhenu. Don't go looking for Kamadhenu. And it's so true. You know, you pick up examples from the world and you see how it functions. Take a look at the Tata group of companies. The entire empire is dedicated to service. So all their dividend goes to a trust, which is why they have survived 126 years of profit making. This is a record. Take a look at the CVS Pharma group, which has something like 78 outlets all over the United States.
It must be more.
Okay,
But
maybe
anyway,
more.
whatever. Has a
It
lot
has
of,
a huge amount of a number of
Yeah,
pharma units all over. In 2014, the board suddenly woke up to the fact that they were dedicated to the well-being, the health of their customers, but they were selling cigarettes and tobacco products.
Okay.
So they took a decision to take tobacco products and cigarettes off their shelves. That was $1 billion annually,
That's a
not a
big
small
call.
amount.
Yeah, that's a big call.
And the Wall Street frowned upon it. Shareholders were not happy. The share price went down, but they stuck to it. And within a year, they started making better profits than before. So this yajna is not only towards a great cause, but even among within the family. If you are able to set aside your interests for the sake of the family, it starts there. Then it spreads to the community, to others, to anybody and everybody that you come in contact with. If, like you said, you have this attitude of giving.
Yeah, and I think what prevents us sometimes is, oh, what will happen to me, right? If I don't go for it, then someone else will get it. And yes, and you know what? In the short term, that may be true, right? In the short term, you may end up losing in a sense, but in the long run, you end up being the one who truly gains as a giver. And that's what, like everything in life, right? If the horizon is only the here and now and the short term, you're bound to make bad decisions. You're bound to enjoy the moment but suffer in the long run. But if the view is always long term, then there's a very, very good chance that you will make better decisions and you will benefit in the long run. But yeah, I mean, I think um, a lot of inspiring thoughts and a good way to end today's show. Would you like to leave us with some takeaways?
Yes, we started by saying that you brought up the subject of why is it that we are jaded
Yeah.
at work, even though we may be inspired. So that's because we view it as a compulsion. That's something that I have to do, not that I'm inspired, excited to do it. So if you retain that higher thought in your mind all the time or as much as possible,
That purpose.
yeah, the
Yeah.
purpose, then, or you could be doing it just because you're earning money and you need the money. Or it could be a higher purpose that you're working for. So we have to pull ourselves back as much as possible. And then we regain that excitement, the
Yeah.
excitement of a child who doesn't have any agenda in whatever the child does.
In fact, even in the Vedas or the Gita, don't they mention that you are like, it's a childlike enthusiasm? Isn't there a word in Sanskrit?
Yes, Balavat.
Bhalavat, yeah.
Balavat
Yeah.
means like a child.
Yep.
And then you also have to take a look at, are you profit driven or are you working for a cause? Like this can be even in a commercial organization, which is actually working for profit. But even there, you should look at the customer, what the customer needs, more than what is my commission. And then develop an emotional motivation. And you find your energy levels go up, your inspiration goes up, intellectual commitment to a cause, and the highest is spiritual. That I'm in it just to get to the transcendental. And then we looked at verse 8, which speaks of Niyatam karma.
Yep.
And this is something that we need to integrate in society. That if you're duty bound, then you gain prosperity, you earn, you become happy, and you develop. Whereas the other sense of entitlement and right is just takes you downhill. The ninth verse spoke about, introduced the concept of yajna, which we saw was an ancient Vedic ritual, which has two aspects to it. One is the offering, the giving,
Ahuti.
ahuti, and the other is the flames going up, which is the return that you get, the profit that you get, which is a byproduct actually.
Yep.
The main thing is you evolve spiritually. And then the 10th verse, which is a really dramatic presentation of yajna, that we as a species have been gifted with this capacity to sacrifice. With this, he says, may you prosper. And let this be the Kamadhenu, meaning this is what will help you fulfill all your desires.
No, that's great. That's awesome. So, shall we close with the invocation?
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us this week for this week's episode. And as always, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments and we look forward to answering them. Yeah, have a great week ahead and we'll see you soon.